Once my girl woke me up this morning by cramming my service weapon several inches down my throat. It was plainly obvious that she knew all about Winston and me. No one ever really actually plans on doing something as ill as fucking your girlfriend's older brother twice in the backseat of his Range Rover during the annual family cookout. Sweating buckets with your drawers at your ankles instead of going for more ice like you told everybody you were. When he bent my knees to my shoulders with his massive hands, salty perspiration from his furry chest raining down on my face, I already started mentally rehearsing the story of how I got that limp from slipping on a patch of wet linoleum at 7-Eleven. "How the fuck do you ever lay next to me after doing that shit, Dominic?" she hissed. Tendrils of her short black hair tousled and reminded me of Medusa in Clash of the Titans. I'm sure that were she capable of it, she'd most definitely turn me to stone right then. And I knew her rage was past the easily consolable level if she was calling me by my full first name. Any other time I was Dom, Nick, or even Nikki. When Tamara got formal, she was ready for blood, and I feared that she wanted to redecorate the pillow beneath me with mine. Were I not fighting the urge to choke on the barrel press against my tongue, I would have explained to her that I hadn't been the one to make the first move that afternoon. "You don't want to do this, T," I pleaded, but with the steel jawbreaker in my mouth, it came out more like, "Ooga ooga, maybe I do, you nasty bastard." She actually understood that. I probably would have been impressed if it weren't for me mentally trying to calculate the percentage of women that shot their cop boyfriends with their own guns. Sure, she'd catch a case and she'd get locked up for a decade or two, maybe less if she'd lawyered up with someone not desperate enough to for business to advertise on television, but either way I would still be known as that dead cop in either scenario. As we remained in our awkward straddle, I kept thinking about how I might have seen Winston's interest in me from the get-go. A lingering hug, pressing up against my ass when we played ball, or a millisecond glance at my crotch while in the locker room. Aside from my next-door neighbor Alan and me masturbating together to Hustler in grade school, I'd never had a run-in with another guy, and thus had no real gaydar. When Tamara and me had just started dating 3 years ago, she introduced me to her big brother at a wedding reception, and the most I'd gotten was a "Sup, yo?" After finding out that we both were in law enforcement, me being a cop and he being a correctional officer down at City Max, we hung out sporadically. Tamara, Winston, and me all went to ball games and movies, but I never felt his eyes peeking over when we stood side by side at the urinals. Until that hot day in July when Winston, shirtless and sweaty from playing ball, asked me to accompany him to pick up some more bags of ice. I had no idea he even got down like that. We'd just gotten back into the Range Rover when Winston began gently wrapping his big fingers on the dashboard, mulling over something. After an awkward silence, he glanced at me a moment, his brow knitted slightly. "I lied to you." "About what?" I asked, a little confused as to what he meant. I'd been asked some very weird things by being in the department, but so I could only imagine where this could lead. "I had met you before T first introduced us," he replied, his eyes unblinking and making me notice for the first time that they were the same soft brown as Tamara's. "Well, not exactly met, but I saw you a while back before that day. You came down to question a perp with a few of us. We're coming back from lunch and I noticed you." "And what's the big deal about not mentioning that?" I asked, suddenly feeling the temperature outside even with the air conditioning blasting from every vent. "I was staring at your ass the whole time." "Huh?" "Some dudes got theirs from hitting that squat machine real heavy, what you would call one of those gym asses. But it's not the same as naturally having one of those homegrown asses like yours. We need to go, man." I was so ready to get back to the park and erase this entire exchange from my brain before I thought about it too long, and before he noticed the lump increasing in my basketball shorts. "My sister and our aunts Some very gabby women. Winston informed me, his raspy voice calm. We could be here for 2 hours before they even noticed we were gone.